The U.S. military may be on high alert right now as we're hearing from multiple agencies that attacks may happen on American soil right before we enter the new year. Yay. Now what, right? But this makes sense given that the Biden administration has entangled us with multiple conflicts that don't necessarily even involve the United States. I mean, where do I begin here? Our troops are getting attacked by Houthi militants, and their leader is saying that we should expect more. Nice job, Biden. I mean, we're constantly sending money and weapons to the Ukraine in what seems to be a never-ending war, kind of like the movie Never-Ending Story, but that's another case. Something that Russia obviously doesn't appreciate, so he's pissing Putin off, the guy with all the nukes. But there's also these warnings that continue to come from China, as they've already told us to back off when it comes to Taiwan. And of course, we can't forget about the Israel-Hamas war that's also being funded by the American taxpayer. So no, it's not surprising to see warnings about possible attacks here at home.
The FBI, the Department of Homeland Security, and the National Counterterrorism Center have issued a warning this holiday season, noting that the Israel-Hamas war may, quote, heighten the threat of lone actor violence targeting large public gatherings, including holiday-related, faith-based, New Year's Eve, and First Amendment protected events related to the conflict. Joining us now is the leader of the largest counterterrorism and intelligence gathering operation in U.S. policing, NYPD Deputy Commissioner for Counterterrorism and Intelligence, Rebecca Weiner, joins us. Rebecca, thank you for coming on the show. How much of a rise in threats is New York City seeing?
We have been warning about this heightened threat environment that the bulletin that you've just described lays out for some time. And, I really think October 7th, like 9/11, marks a strong inflection point in terrorism history that we're going to be grappling with for some time to come.
Now, this is not to spread fear. This is to keep my community informed. But the concern here is that this is going to extend all the way until early 2024, but that the threat is at the highest level during holiday festivities where people gather in large groups. Now, this is directly in line with what FBI Director Christopher Wray said regarding seeing blinking lights everywhere he turns, even likening the situation that we're in right now to 9/11. Now, here's my question. Do you think that the United States is capable at the moment right now to handle multiple threats here at home? I'm talking about cyber attacks, sabotage, damage to our infrastructure. I mean, the whole 9 yards, if you will. Now, if you think that the Biden administration is ready for anything and you have confidence in the Biden administration, go ahead and comment 1 down below. And if you don't think that they're prepared to protect the American people, then comment number 2. And while you guys are doing that, please don't forget to drop a like for the video and consider subscribing to the channel for more news and updates if you appreciate being informed and you appreciate the research that goes into these critical updates. I really appreciate that, guys. By the way, if you own a home, make sure your home is protected. Get your free home warranty quote. There's a link down below in the description of this video. It literally takes about 10 seconds. Now, depending upon how you answer that question, some of you may feel safe while others are probably taking extra precautions during the holiday season and well into the start of 2024. But to be honest and completely frank with you guys, I understand how some of you guys might be worried. I mean, it's not like our military is in the best shape that it's ever been right now. They've admitted themselves that recruitment numbers are way down. And you see what they did with our troops who didn't want to get jabbed, right? That was pretty messed up. They were dismissed just like that. But now that they need the manpower, now that they need more troops, now that we're seeing multiple threats from different countries across the globe, then who are they running after? They're now running after the very same people that they alienated and just screwed just because they had different opinions than theirs. How's the saying go? What goes around comes around? Because it's very easy to see that you want to fight for your country. I mean, at the end of the day, we all want what's best for the United States. But when you have an administration that continues to pull us into wars that doesn't even really concern us, then you best believe that there are folks who wanted to enlist, but they thought twice because of, how we continue to take care of everyone else besides the American people. Now, one way that we can clearly see that the U.S. is concerned about these threats is that we're hearing about our government officials opening up talks with China yet again. And yes, this is after their president, Xi Jinping, warned President Biden about getting involved with their unification of China and Taiwan.
In U.S.-China relations, the Pentagon resuming direct dialogue with Chinese counterparts for the first time in nearly a year and a half. Beijing breaking off contact back in August of 2022 when then Speaker Nancy Pelosi visited Taiwan. Now, China stakes claim to the self-ruled island and viewed the visit as damaging to peace in the region. You likely remember all of that hubbub. But Chinese President Xi Jinping now agreeing to break the silence last month during a meeting with President Biden. Tom Dempsey has more from Washington. Tom, it sounds like those meetings in San Francisco actually paid off.
Yeah, absolutely, Adrian. You know, this morning, that ongoing tension between the United States and China might be thawing even just a little bit. Look, you know, more talks could soon be scheduled between both sides after the top two military leaders from the United States and China spoke for the first time in over a year. We're talking about the chairman of the United States Joint Chiefs of Staff holding a virtual meeting with the general of the People's Liberation Army, who oversees China's combat operations and planning. According to the Joint Chiefs Office, both leaders touched up on a number of global and regional security issues.
Now you have to wonder, are these talks happening because President Biden took warnings from Xi Jinping to heart? Or are both sides just trying to prevent another world war? Believe it or not, it might actually not look that great for the US if China was to actually take Taiwan forcibly.
The committee itself ran a war game, which is essentially a simulation. What would happen if there is an armed conflict between China and the United States with respect to Taiwan? And the war game found that the United States would run out of some pretty serious long-range munitions in less than a week.
Less than a week, folks, and you gotta wonder, where are our weapons? Why would we run out of them in just 7 days? And this doesn't even take into account any of the other countries that may have beef with us. We are seriously in a disadvantage right now, and it's very sad to see that we may not be holding the best cards in the game. I mean, just look at this. A Houthi leader just threatened to attack United States warships if Washington targets Yemen. You guys believe that? The message was that they weren't gonna just stand idly by if the United States decides to escalate tensions that we have with Yemen. They also warned that any Americans that would target their country would in turn be targeted back, singling out our battleships as targets for their missiles, their drones, and their military operations. Now, this is not a good look for the Biden administration, and it's probably the very reason why Anthony Blinken, the US Secretary of State, has said that the war between Israel and Hamas has to end as quickly as possible.
Washington has released newly declassified intelligence accusing Iran of deep involvement in attacks on commercial ships by Yemen's Houthi rebels. Now, the U.S. is considering tougher measures, including possible force to counter these attacks. Iran has till date denied any involvement. The U.S. last week announced a naval coalition involving 20 countries aimed at helping safeguard vessels from attacks in the Red Sea.
I mean, just imagine the speech the president will give if all of these wars are done before the 2024 election or presidential elections. It's probably going to get a lot of people back on his side, right? But imagine what happens if the war continues to drone on through 2024. How bad is that going to look for them? And this is why experts are saying that President Biden is hoping, wishing really, that other leaders from other countries step up to do more about ending these conflicts. But what do you guys think about all this? Should we be worried about things here at home? Or should we just kind of feel at ease knowing that the federal government is, on top of everything? Make sure you guys share your thoughts down below. And before I go, I just want to thank you guys for hanging out. If you appreciate the information, definitely like the video, consider subscribing to the channel for future updates, and I'll see you on the next one.